I chose to do music through the decades, especially how women are represented through the use of language. And I thought this would be kind of an interesting topic because music has always been known to represent society for what it really is. And I thought since the role that women play in society has changed so much over the past few decades, this might be kind of interesting to investigate, especially through the use of language in music. So the first decade that I chose is the 1950s, and I chose rock and roll for this decade. And the first song I have is Bae Papalula by Gene Vincent. And it goes, well, Bae Papalula, she's my baby. Bae Papalula, I don't mean maybe. Bae Papalula, she's my baby. Bae Papalula, I don't mean maybe. Bae Papalula, she's my baby doll, my baby doll, my baby doll. And this song is pretty interesting because there's a lot of repetition throughout it, especially in certain words, such as my and baby. And my is generally what we can assume to be a more of a possessive word, meaning that she belongs to him, he is hers. And that kind of means that he holds some ownership over her in general. And then also the term baby is repeated quite often as well, which could mean that she's a little bit helpless, because babies are generally helpless creatures, so comparing her to one would mean that he needs her just as maybe a baby would need its parent. And then the last two lines, he also adds on the word doll to this, and dolls are generally something that people know for their beauty and how beautiful they are, so that's kind of comparing a woman to something as shallow as beauty. The next song I have is Long Tall Sally by Little Richard, and it goes, well, Long Tall Sally, she's built for speed, she's got everything that Uncle John need, oh baby, yeah baby, woo baby, having me some fun tonight. So this song in general is a little bit more risque, and it kind of just means that women are built for more of these risque things, as it says in the first line. This is what women are kind of made for, they're made for this type of thing, not really anything else. And then in the third line, also, he repeats the term baby once again, meaning that she's a little bit helpless, she kind of needs a man in her life to take care of her. And then the last song for this decade that I chose is Peggy Sue by Buddy Holly, and this song goes, pretty, 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 pretty Peggy Sue, oh my Peggy Sue, oh well I love you gal and I need you Peggy Sue, I love you Peggy Sue with a love so rare and true, oh Peggy, my Peggy Sue, well I love you gal, I want you Peggy Sue. So obviously there's once again a lot of repetition, just like in Bae Papalula. And in the first line we see pretty is repeated 4 times, which kind of puts an emphasis on the prettiness of women and how that's kind of their role is to be pretty. In general, in society, that is their role. And in the second line, he also uses the possessive my again, meaning that Peggy belongs to him. And he repeats this once again in the second to last line when he says, my Peggy Sue. And then at the end of this, he says, well, I love you, gal, I want you, Peggy Sue, meaning that he wants her just like he wants any other prize in general in life. And overall, in the 1950s, this was kind of a decade where women were a little bit degraded, they were less than men a little bit, and they were a little bit helpless as well because of the terms such as baby, pretty, and my. So the 1960s, I chose Motown as the genre, and the first song I chose was My Girl by the Temptations. And it goes, I don't need no money, fortune, or fame. I've got all the riches, baby, one man can claim. I guess you'd say, what can make me feel this way? My girl, talking about my girl. And in the parentheses, there's like backup singers too, so what they say kind of also adds to the emphasis of the song. And in general, this song is called My Girl, which kind of, it has a negative connotation towards women in a way, because my, once again, is possessive, meaning that she belongs to this man. But also when it says girl, that kind of means that she isn't necessarily a woman, she's still a little bit helpless and defenseless, like a little girl, she needs to be taken care of. And this is repeated a lot throughout the song, which kind of definitely puts an emphasis on this. And then in the second line, he also says he has all the riches, which kind of means that his woman is worth all the money in the world, and it kind of once again gives her that possessive feeling where she's kind of an object, she's something that he would buy. The next song is Respect by Aretha Franklin. And this kind of is a little bit of a different type of song because it's written by a woman. And it says, all I'm asking for is a little respect when you come home. Hey baby, when you get home, mister. And obviously in between there's the just a little bits, which are the background voices. And the just a little bit actually gives a lot to this song because she's asking for respect, but she's only asking for a little bit, which almost makes it seem like she isn't getting much in the first place if she's settling for just a little bit. If that's all she wants, and just a little bit is better than what she's already getting, that means she's probably not getting a lot of respect in the first place. And then My Guy is by Mary Wells, and it says, no muscle-bound man could take my hand away from my guy. No handsome face could ever take the place of my guy. He may not be a movie star, but when it comes to being happy, we are. There's not a man today who could take me away from my guy. So this song kind of makes her seem very loyal in general because she's staying with her guy. She's saying that there's not a man who could take her away from him. But at the same time, it kind of creates a female stereotype where women are shallow enough to leave someone just because of their looks or be with someone because of their looks in general. As she says, muscle-bound man in the first line and handsome face in the second line, it kind of makes it seem like that is the kind of stuff that would make her want to leave her man in the first place, which is very shallow. And so overall in the 1960s, women were gaining more strength and independence, like especially in the song Respect, because she was demanding respect from her man. She just wanted to be equal in the same place. And she was also requesting more independence, but however, there's still that possessive term my, meaning that she belongs to a man, but at the same time, in the example my guy, we can see that that kind of reverses as well, so that kind of shows equality. It's a mutual possession of each other in a relationship with the term my. So 1970s, for this decade I chose the genre of disco. And the first song I chose is I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. And it says, I took all the strength I had not to fall apart, kept trying so hard to mend the pieces of my broken heart, and I spent oh so many nights just trying to feel sorry for myself. I used to cry, but now I hold my head up high, and you see me somebody new. And so in this, it definitely shows a lot of strength in women, but it also it shows her defying the female stereotype that they've been given in previous decades, the kind of weak, helpless stereotype, because she was saying she was trying not to fall apart, she had her broken heart, and she used to cry all the time. However, she's defying this because she's saying that she used her strength to defeat this helplessness, and in the second to last line we can see she's holding her head up high, which kind of shows that she's above this now and she's coming out as a stronger person. So the next song is Night Fever by the Bee Gees, and it says, and that sweet city woman, she moves through the light, controlling my mind and my soul. When you reach out for me, yeah, the feeling is right. So this song kind of begins with Sweet City Woman, which kind of makes her seem sweet and innocent like the woman we've come to know over the past 2 decades. However, in the third line, it says controlling my mind and my soul, which kind of makes her seem a little bit manipulative, like she's using a man for what she wants him to do, which also shows a little bit more strength in women, but it's more of a negative connotation of strength. And then the last song for the 1970s is Heaven Must Be Missin' an Angel by Tavares, and it goes, Heaven must be missin' an angel child, because you're here with me right now. Oh, your love is heavenly, baby, heavenly to me, baby. And so this song, it definitely shows women to be a little bit more weaker than what we've seen in previous songs of this decade. To start with, it says angel in the first line, and your love is heavenly in the fourth line, which kind of makes a woman seem sweet and innocent once again, as angel and heavenly are both two things we connotate with someone who's innocent, someone who does no wrong in general. And then in the second line and the fourth line, we can see that they use child and baby, which once again kind of makes a woman seem helpless, as though she needs the guidance of someone older and stronger than her, maybe a man in general. And so in the 1970s, we see this continued strength from the 1960s, and women are even seen as a little bit manipulative. And there are still some degrading terms towards women, however, such as child and baby. These still continue from previous decades. In the 1980s, I chose hair metal as the genre. And the first song I chose was Woman by Def Leppard, and it starts with, and in the garden lust began, the animal instinct, the wanton man. She fed him with a hunger and appetite, and filling with emotion he took a bite. It was 1 part love, 1 part child, 1 part lover, 1 part wild. And so this song is definitely a little bit more risque than what we've seen in previous decades. It says a little bit more about the relationship between a man and woman, starting with lust in the first line. That's something that's not so innocent like what we've seen women to be portrayed as in previous decades. And so the fact that a woman is kind of feeding into lust kind of shows that she's not as innocent as we thought she was. And then in the third line, it says she fed him with a hunger, as though almost she's once again manipulating the man. She's having him do what she wants because she's using something that can easily be manipulated, such as lust. And then at the end of the last line of this verse, it says 1 part lover, 1 part wild. So it kind of juxtaposes the two parts of a woman. There's the lover part, but also the wild part. So she's sweet and innocent, but she's also has that wild side to her as well. The next song is What It Takes by Aerosmith, and it says, girl, before I met you I was F-I-N-E fine, but your love made me a prisoner, yeah, my heart's been doing time. You spent me up like money, then you hung me out to dry. It was easy to keep all your lies in disguise, 'cause you had me in deep with the devil in your eyes. And so this song once again shows the manipulative, more evil side of a woman, and in the third line, it starts with, "You spent me up like money, then you hung me out to dry," which kind of makes it seem like she was using him. She spent him up like money, spent him quickly, and then she hung him out to dry. She left him brokenhearted, which actually is quite the opposite of what we see in I Will Survive, where she was left brokenhearted. Now the women are leaving men brokenhearted, which is quite different. So it kind of shows women have more of a dominant role now. And then the next line it says, "All her lies were kept in disguise," which means she was lying to him, she was manipulating him maybe to get him to do something that she wanted him to do. And in the last line, she had the devil in her eyes, which means that she obviously has some bad intentions, evil intentions. She's not the sweet girl we thought she was. And the last song for the 1980s is "Kiss Me Deadly" by Rita Ford. Dark side to her as well. So for the 1990s, I chose pop punk as my genre. And the first song I chose is "Just a Girl" by No Doubt, and this song is kind of satirical towards the stereotypes that women have been facing in previous decades, such as the ones we've gone over where a woman is a little bit weak and helpless. So the lyrics of this song go, "The moment that I step outside, so many reasons for me to run and hide. I can't do the little things I hold so dear, 'cause all those little things that I fear." So in this song, she's running and hiding in the third line, which kind of makes her seem weak and helpless, like she needs a man to help and protect her. And then the fourth line, it says she can't do the little things, which the fact that she can't do little things, the word little is the key word here, because something that's little is something most people would probably blow off, but the fact that those little things are still bugging her makes her seem very weak and defenseless. And then in the next line after that, it says she holds these things so dear. Dear is kind of more of a feminine word in general, something she holds close to her heart. It's a very emotional word in general. And then the last line, it says things that she fears. And fear is something that they'd expect from a weaker type person, maybe like what a girl has been in previous decades. And so this, once again, is a satirical song to all those stereotypes that women have faced in previous years. So the next song that I chose is "Little Miss Can't Be Wrong" by the Spin Doctors. And the lyrics go, "Been a whole lot easier since the bitch is gone. Little miss, little miss, little miss can't be wrong." And so the fact that we finally have an expletive in some of these songs kind of shows that men are they're getting a little bit angry with women, which kind of shows that women are their equal at this point. Because in previous decades, men have always written songs about women honoring them and how much they love them, or even how they've been brokenhearted by women. But now that they're kind of displaying anger through their expletive language, it kind of shows that they're just as angry as women as they would be at other men for doing something that they didn't like. So they're finally treating women as an equal in this way. And the last song of the 1990s is "Bitch" by Meredith Brooks, and it says, "I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint, I do not feel ashamed, I'm your hell, I'm your dream, I'm nothing in between." And so this song, first of all, it's titled with with expletive language, so it kind of shows, as a woman writing the song and saying it, it kind of shows that she doesn't really care about what others think of her at this point. She is what she is. And also the lyrics are they're oxymorons. You have your very negative type of character traits that a woman might have, but you also have your very positive ones, and the way she juxtaposes them kind of shows that, yes, women do have their good and bad sides, but you know what? She doesn't feel ashamed about it. She is proud of who she is. She's proud to be who she is. And so the 1990s, it kind of shows a newfound pride for being a woman, and it also shows that women have both a good and bad side in general, which brings in more expletives in this type of music than what we've seen in previous decades, such as "bitch." So in the 2000s, I chose hip-hop as my genre. And the first song I have is "Naughty Girl" by Beyonce, and it says, "Tonight I'll be your naughty girl, I'm calling all my girls, we're gonna turn this party out, I know you want my body." And so this song is definitely a little bit more risque than what we've seen in previous decades, and the fact that it's also written and sung by a woman kind of shows that she might lack a little bit of respect for her body. She's saying that she's going to be with a man for one night because she says the word "tonight" at the beginning in the first line. And she also calls herself a naughty girl, which kind of shows a little bit of lack of respect. She's kind of using what we've learned with doll and pretty. Women are meant to be pretty, and things that men can prize. And the fact that she in the last line says that the man wants her body, she's kind of giving into those stereotypes that a woman is meant for her body. That's what she is meant for a man. And the next song I chose is Break You Off by The Roots. And it says, 'Cause you got a man who's probably playing his part, you probably breaking his heart, he trying to figure the reason. And this, the first line, it says the man is playing his part, so maybe it means that he's playing his role as a man. That gives into some gender stereotypes, but at the same time it means the man is being good. It's doing what he's doing what he needs to do in the relationship. However, the woman, despite this, she's probably breaking his heart, as it says in the second line, which means that maybe it's showing that little bit of the evil manipulative side that a woman has. She's probably using this man in order to break his heart, which once again, it's a little bit opposite to what we saw in I Will Survive in the 1970s, where she was brokenhearted. Once again, this is a song where a woman is breaking a man's heart instead of vice versa. And the last song of the 2000s is I Need a Girl Part 2 by Sean Combs, and it says, what I need is a pretty woman next to me to share the dreams that I believe. Maybe we could start a family, someone who truly understands how to treat a man. This is what I need. And so this song is very contradicting in what it is saying about women, because in the second line, the first thing we see is he needs a pretty woman next to him, which once again gives into that stereotype that women are important for their bodies and their looks. But however, in the next line, in the parentheses where the backup singers are singing, they say, dream with me, believe in me. And so this kind of makes a woman seem almost as an equal, especially when we see the keyword with in dream with me, because that means that they're dreaming together. It's not just the man dreaming about what they're going to be doing or taking action what they're doing, it's both of them together, it's a mutual dream. And then also believe in him, he wants someone to support him, which could also, once again, go to the stereotypes that it kind of contradicts the stereotypes that a woman needs a man, because in here a man needs a woman, he needs her to back him up. And then in the next line, we see that in the parentheses, he calls her baby, which once again, that is that condescending term that never seems to go away from the 1950s, meaning that she needs him, she's a little bit helpless, she needs someone to take care of her just as a baby needs a parent to take care of them. And then the second last line, he needs someone who knows how to treat a man, which kind of, he needs someone to take care of him. It kind of defies that stereotype that a woman needs a man to take care of her. It kind of is opposite of that. And so overall, for the 2000s, the music was definitely a little bit trashier. It was more on the risque side. Women were once again, there was more of that concept of women should take pride in their bodies. In order to get a man or to be with a man, a woman needs to flaunt her body a little bit. But at the same time, women were a little bit more manipulative. They were still seen as a little bit of an object in general, like especially for their bodies. But at the same time, women were seen a little bit more equal, especially now that this is the 21st century that we're in. And so, for the last decade, the 2010s, I chose rap music. The first song is Roxanne by Arizona Zervis, and it says, all she wanna do is party all night. Goddamn, Roxanne, never gonna love me, but it's alright. She think I'm an asshole, she think I'm a player. She keep running back, though, only 'cause I pay up. So this song, first of all, has many expletives. It kind of shows his frustration with her, shows that he is angry with her. She's a little bit of an equal to him because he can be angry with her this way where he wants to swear about her. And in the third line, we say that she's never going to love him, but it's all right, which is kind of contradicting because normally people want to be loved, and so the fact that he thinks it's all right kind of shows that he never actually had real feelings for her if he's okay with her not loving him. And although she thinks all these terrible things about him that we see in the next two lines, that he's an asshole and he's a player, she keeps running back to him. And the reason for this is because he's paying her to be with him, which kind of shows that a woman, she kind of lacks morals a little bit, the fact that she's with someone who she doesn't love just because she's getting money for it. The next song is Sunflower by Post Malone, and it goes, needless to say I keep her in check, she was a bad nevertheless, calling it quits now, baby I'm a wreck, crash at my place, baby you're a wreck. So in this, we see that, first of all, she's what he calls a bad, which means she's kind of a bad person. She might have a little bit of a dark, evil side to her. She might be a little bit manipulative like what we've seen in previous decades. But then we also see that he calls her baby in the second, or in the third and fourth line, which kind of once again shows that condescending nature towards a woman where she needs to be taken care of. And he also says that they're both wrecks at the end of the third and fourth line, which kind of means the relationship might be tearing them apart because at the same time, she might be tearing him apart, but it's a mutual tear apart. He's tearing her apart at the same time. And the last song for this decade is Bandit by Juice WRLD, and it says, I don't need no Molly to be savage, but when I'm on the Molly I feel savage. My girl, the definition of a bad bitch, stole her heart, I'm the definition of a bandit. So in the third line, we generally see, he calls her my girl, which once again, that the Mai is a little bit possessive and the girl is a little bit condescending, like she needs to be taken care of. She's not really a woman yet. She still needs the support of parents to guide her along. And at the end of the third line, he calls her a bad bitch, though, which kind of, it's him supporting her and what she's doing. It's kind of his way of supporting her for being a strong person. So it kind of shows that women are stronger, but men are also supporting them at the same time. And then the last line, it says, he stole her heart, he's the definition of a bandit, which once again makes women seem a little bit more like a possession. He stole her heart in general, so that means that that's why they're with each other, because he made a move, he stole her heart, which makes her seem a little bit inferior to him. And overall, the 2000s, or the 2010s, women were still a little bit helpless, but they also had that dark manipulative side, so nothing had really changed since previous decades as of the 2000s. So there's a little bit of reasoning behind why maybe how music portrays women might have changed between the 1950s and the 2010s. First of all, women were a little bit more independent and educated. As we can see in the 1950s, 30% of women were employed, compared to today where 70% of women are employed. In the 1950s, 1.2% of women went to university, when today 72.5% of women go to university. And on top of this, marriage rates were at an all-time high in the 1950s compared to today where they're at an all-time low. And because of this means that women are also a little bit more independent from men. Maybe as many women aren't married, and maybe this is also why in music today women are seen as a little bit more risque, because they're not married as often as they were in the 1950s. In the 1950s, music was more so where people were in love and they were together and they belonged to each other. And so maybe that's why there's such a large shift between the 1950s and 2010s in music, as well as the role change that women had faced between this time in society. Today women are a little bit more educated and independent, so this kind of once again translates into the music as well. And here's my works cited page. Thank you.